Go up to trigger the cutscene. Again, hold B to skip off the text where Otenko explains stuff. There is a Bok on this stage, but because the sun is out, the Bok dies immediately. And there's not much to the first half of the dungeon, you just run through it. So here is where playing at nighttime is really good, because during daytime there are spiders on this map. And you will want to pick up this chest here, which contains the night frame, which you should equip immediately. So you press select to open the main menu, press R to go to the weapon screen. On the left side you have the lens, on the top you have the battery, on the bottom you have the grenades, we don't have any grenades yet, and on the right you can pick the frame. Currently you have the fighter frame, which is useless, and you want to switch to the night frame and press B to leave. Now, for this game doesn't really have a lot of movement tech, but one thing there is with the stairs, you don't have to enter them properly like that. You can kind of jump on top of the stairs here, and you can also jump down. And you should always do this whenever you can, it saves time. You can jump down from a greater height than you can climb up. So I think I can jump down here, but I cannot go up. So there's a bit of an asymmetry here. So once you get the chest, you go up the stairs like that. More text boxes. Hold up so you already do the correct movement, and you want to kill this Bok by spreading him with the night frame 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. When you do spreads like that, it helps to release the button while the enemy has iframes. So I will demonstrate what happens if you don't do that. Yes. Oops. So if I just keep holding it, it will work, but I will lose a lot of energy. So my energy level is now here. But if I rewind, release, release, release. Now I used only half as much energy. And that helps a lot, because you have to if you save energy, then you have to charge less energy. And if you have to do the thing where you stand still and hold A, that costs you a lot of time. And once we've dealt with that, continue on. And we get to this room. This is one of the more complicated rooms in the game. Once you go in, these bats will spawn. You don't have to kill them, but you get a reward chest if you do. And the reward is worth it. But if you don't know what you're doing, this can be quite a frustrating fight, because it will take forever. So the technique I use is, I will begin by dragging the coffin towards the door, and then do a sweep like that. Following that, I run. Well, now it's not gonna work. I have to do it faster. So drag the coffin, do the sweep, and then I run back to the center. The way the bats work is, if you stand still, they are attracted to you, but if you're moving, they get repelled from you. So I will run back to the center to spread them out, and then run back to force them to join. And that usually leads to good results, so I will do it at full speed again. Oops. Ah, 2 got away. Wow, that's not great. It's still acceptable, but Yeah, that I have good experiences with this technique. So once that happens, pick up the chests, which will give you 5 speed nuts, and drag the coffin out. Each speed nut saves around 7 seconds due to the increased movement speed it gives you. So if you go on a detour for speed nuts, it should only be at most 7 seconds long, otherwise it won't save any time. You will have to drop the coffin here. The coffin will start shaking after dragging it for 30 seconds on the same map. You can tell when you change the map by how long the loading screens take. So for example, if I go down this staircase, you will get a long loading screen, which means that the map changed. But if you go through this door, it will be much quicker, so that's how you can tell whether you're on the same map. Now 30 seconds are up, so drop the coffin and again kill this bog like I explained earlier, and then knock on this wall to attract the other bog. And that bog will then die to the skylight. And you have time anyway because the coffin is shaking, so this doesn't cost you any time. So knock, run back to the coffin, grab it, and once the bog walks past, you can drag the coffin out. And if you have good movement, you can get through this map without the coffin shaking. It's going to be close. There's one thing I should talk about. There's a technique called coffin animation cancelling, which allows you to speed up the coffin dragging animation. I don't recommend it for newcomers because it doesn't save a lot of time, but it is quite hard on your fingers. If you do want to go for it, then the way it works is when Django puts his left foot forward, you want to release the D-pad and then immediately press it again. So right. That's basically the rhythm. I usually don't do it, but if you want to go for world record or something, you know, feel free. Also, one other thing I didn't talk about, but when the coffin is shaking, let's see if I can trigger it. You can spread it to cut the time it shakes in half, and you should do that whenever you get the chance. Alright, now place the coffin in the pile driver and turn up the sunlight to max, because for purifications you always want to have the maximum sunlight. Activate the first generator, stand here on the trigger, activate the second tower, and as soon as it activates, press A. That will skip one of Otenko's explanation cutscenes if you press A immediately after the tower activates. So activate A. If you're too slow, then that will happen. Otenko will talk about whatever. The first purification is fairly straightforward. All you have to do is walk up to here, to this ring, and just spread up. Now for purifications, the towers don't actually deal any damage, only the rays, you don't deal any damage by spreading at the center, only the purification rays deal damage to the enemy. However, the enemy will fight back and deactivate the rays if you don't spread at them. If you spread at the center, then you will recover the HP of the towers, basically. If they go down, let me demonstrate this. Yeah, once that happens, as soon as you get one of those dark segments at the Purification Way, it won't deal any damage to the enemy. So when that happens, you have to run up and restore it as soon as possible. This, and you restore it by spreading the tower directly. Oops, I was too far away. And then you can get back to spreading at the center. Now you want to, once your battery level drops to about here, so about a third, you want to hold A to recharge. You want to end this purification with as much energy in your battery as possible. So recharge and then go back to spreading. Now once you get to here, as the enemy is almost dead, you want to use a speed nut. And the reason is that Django will walk in the next cutscene. During a cutscene, you don't, your speed nut timer won't go down, but you will still get the movement boost. So, whoops, wrong menu. I messed it up. So let's just do it again. Recover. Cover. Open the menu, and the speed nut is, in this case, the last item. I usually identify it using this squiggly line here. And you use it by just picking the first option. Once this happens, you want to mash B and A. This will skip the results screen. And eventually you will get a fade out, and then you will mash A and start to skip this screen and go back to holding B. I will explain overheating. So every time you have the light on and you have control of Django, your overheat timer goes up. And if you use your gun after the overheat meter exceeded its limit, you will get the warning siren, and then eventually you will get overheat. If you're playing at max sunlight, it will take 21 minutes of sunlight exposure approximately until you overheat. This duration doubles, basically doubles approximately for every bar of sunlight you go down. So at 9 bars you will get 40 minutes and so on. The way the route is laid out is, if you play correctly, you shouldn't overheat, but you will cut it pretty close. And that is for Castle. The next dungeon will be Small Cave. See you then.